So good morning and great morning to you. Guys, welcome to another fabulous episode of Exit Strategies Radio Show. Hey, I am your host. Yes, Corwin J. Millett, broker and owner, Exit Realty, Low Country Group in beautiful North Charleston, South Carolina. Guys, my mind is blown, okay? So I want to first give a shout out to our loyal listeners that listen to us. Guys from the coast all the way into Monkey's Corner that listen local on a radio station on WJNI 106.3 FM. Y'all know what that WJNI stands for. With Jesus, nothing is impossible. Guys, thank y'all so much who listen to us faithfully. Pastor and Elder Evans, I always got to give a shout out to them. We go way back before they was Four Flats because we always been down like that. I love them. I love them. I love them. So guys, look here. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Y'all know our mission here at this show. It is very simple, but it requires a lot of work. That is to empower our community through financial literacy and real estate education, guys. That's what we do. That is what we do. We work day and night, guys, to help people to realize their dreams. And we use real estate as a vessel, as a vehicle to get people there. We're taking people somewhere. For those who followed us from the very beginning, Exit Strategies, taken from the book of Exodus, where people left, where people moved, where people went to the promised land. They went to what was given to them. So guys, our show, our entire premise, our entire platform here, guys, is to help people, to facilitate that move, to get people from where they are, but to where they are supposed to be. And guys, today, we got an amazing show ahead. We have an awesome guest. We've been bringing in the very best from around the globe. And today we are very fortunate to have with us none other than Calvin Cannon Jr. Look here. That last name right there will tell you that we're going to be making some explosive moves today. Calvin Cannon Jr. Calvin is an educator. He's an educator in the real estate space, guys. Real estate investor, been doing this for a very long time. He teaches people on the platform of the cash flow roadmap. Calvin, thank you so much for being on the show with us today. How are you doing, my brother?
Thank you, Corey. I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me, man. Allowing me to come on your platform and bless your audience and your people with some great information. It's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
I'm super excited because you taught my language, brother. You speak my language. Money and how we're going to help people get more of it and how we're going to build and create wealth and legacy within our communities. So I'm super excited for this conversation today. So let's get started with Calvin. Tell our listeners high-level overview, who you are, what you do, and let's dive in from there.
Absolutely. So my name is Calvin Cannon Jr. I am an entrepreneur / also investor. I've been doing real estate for 33 plus years. I know it might not seem like it, black don't crack. So I've been in this game for 33 years. Bought my first property in 1991. Been through real estate from new construction, flips, the BRRRR method, rental properties, buy and holds, rehab properties, and doing some wholesale deals. When I started off in real estate, guys, I started off at a very young age, not because real estate was calling my name. It's because just like any other child, young, adolescent, 17 years old, I wanted to get out of my parents' house. So one of the things that I did was I was going to college. I was going to Temple University here in Philadelphia, PA, and I wasn't too fast with doing grants and putting in my applications to get money for college. So I put my applications in late and I wound up getting a $5,000 stipend check for books, room and board and food, but I got it at the end of the semester. So I took that $5,000. I bought my first piece of property at 32nd and Cecil B. Moore here in Philadelphia, kept it for about a year and a half, sold the property for $60,000, and I never turned back. One of the things that I did learn how to do is do real estate, be in real estate, and learn how to help people get to the next level of real estate with the Cash Flow Roadmap Academy. That's where I'm at.
That's profile. That dude said he got that money at the end of the semester.
Yeah.
So he got it after he done everything with the semester. So wait a minute, what we gonna do with it now? That's awesome, man. So we talk about your very first property. If you don't mind, let's talk about that briefly. But what was that? That was just a buy hold and then you resold it, or do you make improvements to it? What did that look like?
Yeah, so my very first property was a multifamily, which was a duplex, and it was a hole in the wall. My second level, I didn't have any windows up there. I was living on the first level. Didn't really have no locks. I probably had every rodent that was crawling in the street inside of my apartment, but I didn't care. I was 17 years old. I just needed to get out of my parents' house. I stayed in that property for about 6 to 7 months. Didn't fix it up because I didn't know how. All I knew was that I needed my own independency. I was tired of my parents' rules and regulations. So I was there, I was living there, and I was still, going to college. This gentleman came by one day. He saw me coming in and out with my book bag, and he said, "Hey, do you own this property?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Hey, I want to buy this property from you." And we'll just say that this gentleman had his own pharmaceutical business, that he was an entrepreneur as well. And he came to me and he said, "Hey, I want to buy this property for $60,000. Now we're talking 1991, and I'm like, 60,000. I'm like, nah, you can't be serious. I'm like, whatever. So I went on to college. I went to school that day. Didn't hear from this guy for about 2 to 3 days. The fourth day, he came back with a bag full of money and paperwork. And I'm just like, what is this? And he's like, I want to buy your property. And I'm like, open up the bag. I'm looking at the money. I'm like, okay. So I signed the papers. I took my school bag, a duffel bag, filled up as many clothes as I could. And I left and went back to my parents' house. So got to my parents' house. I came in. I told my mom, we made it. We rich. You don't have to work no more. I got everything from here. She said, what are you talking about? I gave her the bag of money. She grabbed me. She took me right to the police station to Broad and Champlos, where it's the 34th Police District. And she took me in the back and said, I don't know where my son got this money from. However, I want you to investigate this. So I'm scared. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna go to jail. Police came. They took me back to the property where the gentleman was at. He showed the police the documentations. At that time, I didn't know what it was. It was actually a real estate agreement of sale, but I didn't know that. My signature was on it. His signature was on it. The police officers told him to pull up the recorded deed. They pulled it up. He said, ma'am, your son did a real estate transaction. Money. I was happy. So I was back in my parents' house. But my first property was my first lesson in real estate. Not because I sold it. Because remember, I bought it for $5,000. I sold it for $60,000. So I made a $55,000 profit. However, this was back in 1991. Today, that same property is worth over $550,000. But I didn't have anybody to talk to. I didn't have a coach, leader, or mentor to tell me, young man, hold on to this property. Hold on to this property. So that was my first property. First lesson I ever learned in real estate. You can't sell everything. You got to have a plan, and you need somebody to talk to. You just don't jump because the numbers sound good. The numbers sound good. But I learned my first lesson from that. And at that point, I took off from real estate and never looked back.
So you was hooked. So that's what I just heard. You would look here. Wait a minute. What I can do? What in this? Oh, wow. Oh, let's go. So Calvin, explain to me or give us an introduction into the cash flow roadmap, the academy. Let's talk about the concept. Where did it come from? What spurred you to say, okay, this is how we can educate and teach people how to do this?
Absolutely. So the cash flow roadmap is a mentorship and academy that I created. I've been teaching for the last 15 years. And the reason why I started teaching is because I realized and understood that a lot of people want real estate. They hear about real estate, but nobody really takes the time to educate them about real estate. And, back then it was very hard for us to try to get some type of loan and funding to do real estate. A lot of times real estate came from our parents or aunts or uncles or somebody giving us a piece of real estate or passing it down or somebody passed away. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to empower people by giving them the concepts that they need to survive in real estate. One of the things that I created in the cash flow roadmap is something called buy, flip, hold, until your holds cash flow supersedes your flips. Now, when people hear that, they're like, what? That sounds like a lot right now. But what it is I created a system where you can start off in real estate at any level, and you can take the level that you're at and you can scale up to the next level if you have the right components. See, a lot of people think that they have to have all this money to get into real estate. But it's not about the money getting into real estate. It's the strategy, the skill sets, and the determination. I say that there's 3 things that stop people from winning in real estate: money, time, and fear. Money is there. If you look at what you spend every day, Starbucks coffee and all these different companies that you go to, eating out every day, you got the money. The money is there. The second thing is the time. A lot of us work 9 to 5s and we felt like, hey, I can't get into real estate because my job is sucking up all of my time. But if you gave the real estate half of the time that you're giving your employer, you can get the things done. The most biggest thing that stops you from scaling in real estate is the fear, the unknown, you not knowing if I buy this property, is it going to work? So that's what we created Cash Flow Roadmap is a community of investors from all different type of levels, from brand new investors to seasoned investors. And we help each other get to the next level by sharing resources, strategies, and skill sets to help everybody grow and win. So that's why we created the Cash Flow Roadmap.
So one thing that I've found, Calvin, over the years is that people that do this and are successful in doing it, they pay it forward. And somebody did it for them, so they pay it forward by doing it for others. So I can just imagine the brain trust that you have in this group, because again, they give back because somebody gave them a shot, somebody turned them on to something, somebody gave them a resource, a tool, gave them leverage, whatever it is for them to become successful. And then in turn, they turn around and give back to other people in the same fashion with the same level of commitment. So that's awesome. So this group, this brain trust that you guys run, what does it look like? Is it all online? Are you guys doing classes, workshops? What does it look like?
Corey, and that's a great question, right? Because within the last 2 to 3 years, it's a lot of people that's online teaching and talking about real estate, right? And I call these guys the real estate gurus. When we was going through the pandemic, everybody was online because we were stuck inside of the house. So I always tell people, yes, it's good to get information online from real estate. You can do YouTube University, you can do courses, you can do classes, but what we teach is something a little bit different and special. So we have 3 different type of categories. One, you can always book a consultation call to talk to me one-on-one. You don't talk to the secretary, you don't talk to any assistant, you will talk to me one-on-one. The second phase of my program is we have something called our monthly community, where we would join a call, something like this. All the community members will be there. Is once a month. We talk about real estate. We talk about different strategies and different things that's happening into the market. And then my biggest program is something called hands-on real estate mentorship. You are literally going through the exact process that I do when I'm going from buying a property, whether if I'm going to fix it up and flip it, fix it up and rent it out, do a wholesale deal. You walk through that entire process. So that's why it's called hands-on. Now, some people might think, well, from the beginning, you said you're from Philadelphia. I live over here in Chicago. How can I get that experience? So I tell people, if you can come at least once or twice a month, you'll be able to walk through the property that I'm in. And or we do a one-on-one Zoom calls, we do FaceTime calls, but we do them inside the property. So each phase that I go through the property, you're there, right there, watching the phase. You'll get a chance to ask your questions. You're seeing me dealing with contractors. You'll see me dealing with vendors. You'll see me, my whole layout and my whole plan of what I walk through is what we give back in the Cash Flow Roadmap community. So that's our 3 channels that we do for that. And people love it. They love it because, one, they get an opportunity to say, hey, I have a real estate mentor or coach or leader, but I'll never see them in properties. All I see them just behind the keyboards talking about the properties, which is great. A lot of people can do that. But for us, I'm prominent about being inside the property. I feel like the best teacher is being inside the property, having your hands on, seeing the construction, seeing what's going on. You can ask the right and appropriate questions. So that's the way that we formulated the Cash Flow Roadmap.
So you guys is this community nationwide? Or are you more regional or more local? What does that look like?
Well, it's nationwide. I have leaders, so I don't call people inside of my mentorship mentees. I call them leaders because one leader grooms another leader. So we're all going to become leaders. And it's all over. I got people in California, Chicago, the UK, Philly, Delaware, Jersey, New York. I have people all over. A lot of people who can't make it to Philadelphia, they will join our monthly community where they can still come on each month. They bring their questions each month. They're able to see the different things that are going on and ask their questions.
That is awesome, man. That's awesome. So this is a brain trust right here, man. Absolutely. So you guys, you say you discuss various strategies. Yep. So you mentioned obviously Burr, you're fixing flips and all that stuff. Do you guys touch on commercial or you limited residential? Absolutely. Okay, Absolutely. You touch on commercial too. So you guys touch on all those strategies. So you guys discuss like deals and all those things as well, like how people are structuring things and give insight into that as well and how people can replicate it?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is, so once you join any of my programs, you automatically go to our private Facebook group where we drop properties inside of this group every day. Now, most of the properties is probably in my region, in my local area, because that's where the wholesalers are sending them to me. But I'm also a licensed realtor. So I also put my clients on something called a drip campaign, where if you give me the zip code that you want, I'll put it inside the MLS and that drip campaign will send you deals as well. But I do tell my clients, hey, if you're going to do real estate, one, if you can, in your backyard, I teach you how to create that bank in your backyard because you need to have boots on the ground. A lot of times people say, well, I want to invest over here, but I'm not there yet. But if you have boots on the ground, somebody you can rely on, you can pull up to the property, you'll be more successful as a real estate investor, especially you're a new real estate investor. I show people the groups of the properties. I'm showing you my lenders. I give you access to my lenders. I give you access to my contractors. I give you access to any discount that I'm getting for in-house materials. Everything that I do every day, you get access to all of that. We have about 150 real estate documents, from finding your deal, closing your deal, settlements. If you have a tenant, so if you need a copy of a bulletproof lease is what we call it, I give you all the documents that you need to be successful in real estate.
So you guys are just like the entire gambit, man. I'm loving it. I'm loving it, my guy. It's because it literally is like the full picture. And people, here's my vision for it. And Calvin, please tell me if I'm wrong on this, but you guys just built the grocery store. And we got some people that when they come in, they going straight to the meat department. We got some people that's over here in produce, and we got some people that might be over there in frozen food. But regardless, people are able to shop and go where they need to get what they're looking for. Is that kind of what we're talking about?
You're right on target with the Cohen, because see, everybody comes into real estate on different levels. I've been in real estate for 33 years. Somebody might come in real estate and been in for 33 days. So we can't take that 33-day person and say, hey, you know what? Just go call the lender, get some funding, and you're going to be okay. No, we don't do that. When you come in, we jump on a call, a one-on-one call. I figure out what is it that you need from me and what I can do to help you get to the next level. Some people say, hey, I want to do this, but my credit's not right. My funding's not right. I'm not sure what to look at. So I don't put that person in the pool of somebody who's been doing 4, 5, 6 deals a month, because then it is unfair, because the education will be off a little bit. So we try to figure out where you are, and we take you from where you are to the next point that you need to be.
That's awesome, man. So Calvin, look, before we get too far, I got a couple more questions for you, but where can people reach you? Like, where can people get in contact with you?
Absolutely. So you can find me on every social media platform at Calvin Cannon Jr. There's no gimmicks, no nothing. It's my name everywhere. You can Google me. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Calvin Cannon Jr. Yep, you can find me right there. You can send me a DM. You can send me a message, and I reach back out to you. My team, we don't ignore DMs. We don't ignore messages. If you reach out to us, give us at least about 12 hours and somebody get back to you.
For our listeners, guys, he is easy to find. All right. We ain't got to turn out near the rock. He literally is like right there, guys. So look, by all means, please make sure that you just reach out and get connected. So Calvin, you've run a portfolio now worth several $1 million. Am I right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The majority of your portfolio is what? Rentals? And is it commercial, residential, or is it a full gambit of every strategy that we talked about?
So my portfolio is a mixed bag, and that's where we got the buy, flip, hold until your hold cash flow supersedes your flips. I teach people how a lot of people come into real estate and they do the BRRRR method, right? Buy, rehab, rent out, refinance, repeat. A lot of people know this strategy, and that's what they do, but they forgot the last R, and that last R is relocate. You can't stay in the same area all the time, and you can't always pull out all the equity out of your properties. So one of the things that I teach people is, instead of you going right in and do the BRRRR method, go right in and do a flip. That's why it's buy, flip first. So if I buy a property and then you flip it, let's say out of that flip, you make a profit of $60,000, $70,000. You can 1031 exchange that. You take that to $60,000, $70,000, split it in half, take half of that and now buy your BRRRR, but you also take the other half and buy you another flip. So you only got to go to the bank once for your down payments. I still use banks for my mortgages, but I don't use banks anymore for my down payments because of the system that I've created. So now when you have this system, let's hypothetically say you need $30,000 to get started. You only need it one time. Most people teach you, oh, you got to do this and go back to the bank and get more money, then go get more money, then go get more money. You're building up debt on this side, which is good because it's positive debt. But over here, your cash flow is not going to equivalent your debt to start knocking this debt down if you take a lesson or loss in real estate. So what I teach you is to get the 30,000, buy your first flip it, take that money, then buy your BRRRR, your hold, or your rental. So my portfolio, I have everything in it. I have single family homes. I got multifamily homes. I got laundromats inside of there. I have restaurants inside of there. I have commercial properties, because I understand that you can never lose in real estate until you quit. You never lose. Real estate is a pivot strategy. So every time something happens, like a prime example, in 2008, everybody was losing their shirt in real estate. And the reason why is because they over leveraged. We came out of that because when we seen that the market was starting to do a teeter top, we scaled back and we just watched the market. After 2009, 2010, people started losing their properties. We came right on in and we started grabbing those properties. So now, 2 years ago, when COVID hit, the interest rates dropped down to 4%. 4% for DSCR lenders and for investors. That was unheard of. So when you have the new investors that came in 2.5 to 3 years ago, they thought 4% was the norm. But in fact, 4% was the abnormal. It was abnormal. We never had 4% interest rates for investors. So when that happened, the market had to do a correction. But at that time, some of the strategies that we taught, people didn't understand. I would tell people at 4%, buy single family homes. They're like, oh no, coach, you're totally wrong. You don't make money off a single family home when you're renting it out. Mm. But in fact, if you would have bought single family homes back in 2 to 3 years ago, that single family home is now the hot commodity on the market because a retail single family home is the number one buyer and consumer in real estate. So we picked up 30 single family homes 2-3 years ago. And what are we doing today? We place them on the market. So now we're getting tier money and use that money to retain our rental properties. And that's how we do it.
Man, I love it, man. I love it. So Kevin, I had a client a number of years ago. He was in the business, was an agent. He got into the business because he was an investor. So he finally, one day, this guy calls me out the blue, man. He says to me, hey, you still doing real? So I said, yeah, because I sold a property of his. And so he was like, hey, I want some help with this. I said, well, don't you have a license? He said, man, I let that thing go because he didn't want to deal with the paperwork and all the requirements and all that stuff. So I became his agent. And I learned from him what you're talking about. He had did that prior. So by the time I met him, he was on the tail end. He started maybe in his 20s, went down, borrowed money from the bank. He was a good old country boy, good guy, great guy. And went down to the bank and borrowed money, bought a house, moved into it, resold it, went back to the bank, got more money. And the next time he came and bought 2 houses. And he moved in one, fixed it, flipped it, moved into the other one, started working on it, bought another one. And he just kept, and he started accumulating. So by the time I met him, he had probably I think when I met him, he still had a good 40 some odd properties scattered from basically one end of our area to the other. And at one point in time, he said he had 100 and some odd properties because he just accumulated over the years. And when I met him, he was on this gradual sell-off, but on occasion he would buy another one and flip it. By then, he was playing with house money. He was playing with his own money by then. So the strategy, man, I follow you, man. It works. It works.
Absolutely.
So Calvin, I'm going to ask you what I refer to sometimes as our mic drop question, but it's 2020. And I don't even know if you could do any better if you did have 2020. Because look here, you figured out how to do this thing before you even turned 20. But I'm going to ask you anyhow, if you knew back yonder when what you know now, what would you have done differently that would have catapulted you to a level far beyond where you currently are?
That's a great, amazing question. I would say that if I had to talk to younger me, would said, believe more in me. I have my faith in God, but do you believe in you? And a lot of times we get on this hamster wheel where we have our 9-to-5 job and that becomes what we chase because it's a comfort zone. So if I had to say to me, young Calvin, listen, work your 9-to-5, but I need you to take that paycheck and take them days off and get into real estate. Find what you love to do and put the time and energy into that. And don't wait. Get started now. I started at 17. If I could have started at 15, I would have loved to do so. Because even though I got my first property at 17, I was still in college. I was still working a 9-to-5. I gave corporate America 20 plus years of my life while I'm still chasing real estate, not believing that real estate is my ultimate goal and dream. I didn't have enough confidence in myself that, hey, it wasn't a guaranteed paycheck every week like my 9-to-5 gave me. It wasn't a guaranteed medical coverage that my 9-to-5 gave me. But then I had to ask myself, when are you going to get off that hamster wheel? When are you going to respectfully fire your boss so you control over the things that you're doing? And the day that I had enough for my job, I walked in, I gave my 2 weeks notice. Of course, by the time I got to my car, they was already calling me and firing me, which was okay. Or that following year, I doubled my salary from my job with real estate. And I need people to understand that if you really take the money that you make at your job annually, just take that number annually. And if you break it down monthly and then break it down weekly, you can figure out how to survive without your job. A lot of times people believe that, well, I'm making $100,000 at my job, or I'm making $120,000 at my job. I did 2 flips a year and made $130,000. Those 2 flips, I got them done in 9 months. So that means that other 4 months of the year, I was on cruise control. But yet I was working at a job. I would have been working 12 months, no weekends off. I'm begging and asking permission for personal days. I'm begging and asking permission. Can I go on vacation? And then once I realized that and that clicked in my head, I took off from real estate. I bet on me. So if I had to look back in time and said, hey, young Calvin, stop worrying about what people think. Stop worrying about if you're going to fail. Stop worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow and focus on today and bet on yourself. And that's what I would say to my younger self. Work. Don't be foolish. Work. But at the same time, don't commit myself to something that's not my future. Put the time in and build your legacy wealth, not generational wealth. Build your legacy wealth and get to the next level. And that's what I would have told younger me.
Calvin, that's a word right there, man. Stop listening to what other people say. Right there. Thank you so much for that response, man. Thank you for being on the show today. We have quickly come to, but I knew we was going to have a good time, man. Come to the end of today's episode, but we have got to get you back in the future. For our listeners, guys, y'all please make sure y'all reach out to Calvin and follow him, but most importantly, get plugged into the community so you can pick up, glean, learn, from those who have done it, but maybe you can encourage someone who is yet still to come. So guys, please make sure that you connect and get involved in this. So Calvin, again, from the bottom of my heart, man, thank you for being on the show with us today.
Thank you.
So our listeners, guys, look, amazing show. Y'all got some great information. I didn't warn y'all at the beginning to get your pen out and start writing notes. So y'all please make sure y'all go to our website. Y'all please make sure y'all go to our YouTube channel, our station, guys, and please make sure that you download or look at this episode and pick up those pieces that you have missed out on. All right. So guys, look, we appreciate you. You know how I feel. Y'all know what I say. Y'all know I always put the two of those things together to you. And I give it to you this way, which is I love you. I love you. I love you. And we're going to see you guys out there